So giants are mentioned in the Bible. There's some famous ones like Goliath, for example. There's a giant that I believe it was Noah faced. Noah faced giants in his age. So there's a few places that they're mentioned specifically, but there's this idea throughout the Old Testament that they were a reoccurring thing. Like whenever it talks about they go to Canaan, that they see giants in the land of milk and honey that they have to wipe out. There's giants among the Philistines, what have you. So the idea is there's this biblical record of giants, and there's also a record of giants throughout other written histories. Like pretty much every group of people either had a legend or history of giants somewhere in their culture. They tend to pop up around the historical record. And the idea is, since the Bible is the oldest, in my opinion, the oldest, debated between that and like Zoroastrianism as being the oldest religion ever, that it's the first evidence of giants existing. And in the Bible, they're called Nephilim. So yes, Nephilim are like the starting route for a ton of crazy.
I'm sorry to interject.
Theories.
We had a guest like 2 months ago arguing with me, telling me that Zoroastrianism wasn't the first religion. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I watched that episode.
I do remember that. Yeah.
That was Aiden. That was Aiden. Yeah.
I remember that became more of an argument than I thought it would be. And I was just kind of like, oh damn, like now we're like getting heated over over like demons and shit.
If it helps Kyle any, the theory that most people have, like myself, who believe that Christianity was, or like the Bible, Judaism at the time was first, is that Judaism and Zoroastrianism were simultaneous, that they kind of branched out at the same point in the historical record. Which I have my own theories that Zoroastrianism is mentioned in the Old Testament as being other religions that are mentioned around the time of Abraham, but blah, blah, blah. You see what I mean? You got me in my zone.
No, that's interesting.
I have been admiring.
Yeah,
this,
I like this stuff.
The start. I was like, it's cool when we have like a professional level guest on the show.
I like where I'm a Sunday school teacher. Like, you know, a lot of what I do is talking to, you know, people my age and stuff. They're like, oh, well, you know, Christ wants us to live this way, blah, blah, blah. But there's also a lot of, all right, kids, so I found this verse in Genesis. I think it means that aliens came to Israel, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I get to go on my whole rants and stuff. So
that's
so the Bible. So the Bible is kind of exacting when they give the dimensions of something like the ark. Do they ever tell us about how tall these giants are supposed to be? Because that's so important.
Yes, yeah, it does. Whenever it mentions Goliath, which is, there's times that it mentions giants who stand with their waist at the height of man. That's more general. Goliath is specifically mentioned as, I think, 9.5 feet tall.
Yeah, shit. Well, all right.
Like Robert Wadlow size.
Now, when you say 9.5 feet, are you accounting for like their feet being tiny? Did they actually use their foot as a foot in that time? Because to be fair, these are poorly fed Jewish men.
That's true.
About 5,000 years ago.
Correct.
These are small fellas.
Well, I think they used the measurement from your elbow to your wrist or something like that.
They use the measurement of cubits. They use the measurement of cubits. If I remember, it says that he was 6 cubits and a span, which a cubit's about 1.5 feet. So that comes out to a little over 9.5 feet.
Yeah, see that's the problem. So like, obviously there you're dealing with some exaggeration, because like I don't believe that in that time, even with like a pituitary thing or whatever makes people gigantic, that he'd have like the diet capable of surviving to manhood and being a 9 foot tall being.
No, you know what would be funny is like if like that's entirely true, but Goliath was one of those pituitary giants. And so he went out to fight David, and they're like, there he is, the giant. And he has like crutches. He's like, oh, look at that beast. And they just bully him with a stone. We were going to see if you guys had any medical intervention for him. God, don't kill him.
Old school.
Do you know about the Potsdam giants?
That sounds familiar.
It was a Prussian infantry unit in like 1675. All right. Now, I can't remember if it was like the Prince of Prussia or the guy in charge, or at least in charge enough that he could have his own military unit at his whim, selected only the tallest men in the whole fucking Prussian Empire. Yeah.
Stupid question. Where is the tech tree in 1685? Like,
They got like shitty guns,
You're like,
like
early
Old
Imperial Age.
musket,
You have access to
flintlocks, like
trebuchets.
flintlock stuff. Yeah.
shitty guns. There'd be a lot of cavalry and still like armor, I would imagine, and like silly hats with points on them, and probably lots, swords and pikes and shit.
Swords, pikes, and the occasional.
We're
flintlock.
100 years from the American Revolution, and like guns being that good.
Yeah, they were like, that's
So-
the time they were figuring out, like, we got to phase out armor because we're now making like muskets that can blast through stuff.
Well,
I was
anyway,
curious- Oh, go ahead.
this guy who I think was probably gay was like fascinated with tall men. Okay, it was like his jam. So he like searches the kingdom, and
It's
there's
gay
this
about
quote,
that.
There's this quote from him.
Hey, watch your mouth.
There's this great quote, and he's
If you knew
like,
which
Wow, you
subreddits
can't have
I
a harem
follow.
of tall men or it's gay.
That's exactly. He's got this great quote. I want Zach to find it. Well, I've given some context clues to his identity. I just can't remember the fucking Prince of Prussia's name. But he said something like, "Keep your this, keep your that. Give me a tall man."
You may be onto something.
But he was like, this would be a good video, I think, because like this regiment apparently was really tall guys, because he searched the whole like country and he even had a breeding program where he was trying to like pair up the tallest women and the tallest men to make an even
Yeah.
taller regiment. He never used them in battle because he was so beloved. They were so beloved
What
to him.
on earth?
I'm looking at
Huh.
his Wikipedia. The height of the king who organized this, 5'3". And so imagine how monstrous this battalion, and apparently the minimum height was 6'2", which back
Yeah.
then is enormous. Like,
Yes.
like
Today,
400
6'2" is
years
usually
ago.
the tallest guy in a room.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like if you're
He
6'2", 400 years ago, like you're probably starting conversations walking.
I
by.
bet-
he would
Find us the
retain
average
them-
height for the time, Zach, because that's important. But I would guess that you're like Harley, essentially. Like you're like a 6'5", 6'6" guy. Like everybody's like, oh shit, one of them
7'1".
are here.
Yeah. Yeah. They'd think there's something like wrong with you, or they'd be just like jealous of like, wow, that guy gets to eat every day.
No, it'd be hard to be like, again, I think it would be, there's a reason people used to be smaller, and because it didn't work to be big. Like a big man can't like work. All right, if you're 5'5", you do a day's work. That gives you enough grain to support your 5'5" body or whatever from the boss. I just don't think the 6'6" guy can do enough work to get him enough grain to like make up the difference. You know what I mean? He's not working hard enough to get enough grain more than the other guy. We're all getting fed the same.
I
Don't care
wonder
too
if
big.
I wonder if we got shorter after agriculture. Is that something I made like when we
Taller.
like that people were taller, that like some hunter, or maybe this is like some other thing. They found like hunter gatherer tribes that are pretty tall because they ate like so much meat, like Neanderthal, or I guess Neanderthals are like a kind of a different thing.
Giants.
Yeah, it was
all
the
circles
Nephilim.
back in. Yeah, there you go.
It all circles back in. Praise
Does
him.
that mean the angels are black?
No,
What?
angels are
Where did that go?
it's a total misconception that angels are even people, man. You've read
I
the
know that.
Bible. You've seen the orb of eyes.
I had to make
and
a black
horror.
joke.
The
Athleticism.
Of course.
I know it's not theologically correct. Shit,
No,
man,
see, that's not canon.
the ophonym, right? The
canon.
giant
Oh, I
swirling
love calling
rings
the
with
Bible
eyes.
canon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
oh,
not
yeah, it's
canon.
Have you heard that? Like, so we've heard like nose size, hands, feet as being an approximation for dick size. Everyone's heard this, and you
Yeah.
probably heard that it's inaccurate, right? That's
Yeah.
not true. Do you know what is an accurate estimation of dick size? Like a way you can tell who has bigger dicks?
Probably age. Like,
Um,
you
People
can
over
know that you-
13 tend to have bigger dicks.
Yeah.
No, what do you tell us? How do you spot a
Groundbreaking.
dong in the wild?
It's the
Very
width of
carefully.
the nose. The nose width apparently corresponds to dick size. And I've heard this, and I'm like, is this a roundabout way to say black people have big dicks? Like, can you think of a group of people that tend to have wide noses?
This is what happens when you do statistics, but you don't account for all factors. It turns out wide noses is the prime indicator. Wait, did you look at any? Wait a minute. Can I see some of the? I mean, I don't mean to be.
I know. Here it comes.
shit.
Here it comes.
I'm just saying, statistically, maybe we want to look at a broader array of factors and attributes in the group.
It's like we can't figure out what it is, but all the people who are the best at math prefer PlayStation controllers. It's a weird conundrum. One of God's great mysteries.
What
those
does God
people.
mean by this?
Which group do you hate the most? No, I'm kidding. I saw. I'm
Stack
scrolling through
ranking.
the stat. Who's worst to tolerable? Let's go. I saw this thing from my YouTube short recommendations where someone was suggesting that I think it was one of the states. Maybe there's a little of that silly legislation that never goes anywhere. But the idea was to have mandatory paternity tests at birth for all newborns in the state of such and such.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
I like that idea so much.
It won't happen.
I like that idea.
I don't know what's involved in a paternity test.
Cheek swab.
Is that it?
Let's pretend it is.
See.
We've got, I mean, you know,
You're right.
We're not going to puncture your baby or anything. We're not going to like take one of those things they clip
They
cow
puncture
ears
the
with.
baby
And, like,
anyway.
Yeah.
Plus, there's all sorts of blood coming from like the umbilical cord.
we'll
and shit.
take
You
some of the
must be
blood
able
we
to-
already got. All right,
Yeah.
Take
that's
a
our
core
promise.
sample.
Not a drop more. That's our promise. I love that idea. I love that idea because it would be nice to know. I watched this one. You can't tell if these YouTube shorts or just YouTube videos in general and videos on the internet in general, if it's this guy's fucking drama channel where they act out fucking scripts and screenplays and I'm watching a performance, or if it's like a prank or like a bit of real life drama. But it was one where the guy had a paternity test proving that like his 5 or 6 year old daughter wasn't his, and he was telling her to get her shit and go, get your daughter and go. And it's probably like some dude's like drama YouTube channel where he acts out all sorts of screenplays and funny bits that they write. But I was convinced. I was like, shit, that's rough. Get your daughter and go at like 5 or 6, like.
Yeah.
She's a talking human being at this point. We know each other. Like,
Yeah.
Haven't
We
you bonded
know
with her
each
at all? It's been 6 years.
this isn't like this is like a real bond. That's your kid at this point. Like I don't know if you can fucking pull the plug. Maybe get some like Big Brother program going or something. But I can't just pull the plug.
Yeah.
Is this the cold one or the old one? No, that's the old one.
Do you have like because I do this too with like Diet Pepsis and stuff. Do you have a little graveyard collecting, little can graveyard?
I'll be honest. I'll count. I see one. I see
the
two.
camera.
No, then you see the whole room, and then I have to deal with the real shame of.
That's good.
No, because like the room.
I've
all right,
never
so when,
empathized more with
he's
I
got
that.
all
do
the
have a
body
glass
pillows
dildo
lined up,
connection,
yeah.
and that's
And-
why
and
the
it's not
camera's not
even-
pointed down.
and I promise it's not like filth and in like embarrassing junk or anything. It's that when I moved in, I just sort of put my stuff in this office, and all my extra boxes are just in a pile right there, and they're gonna stay there until I move out of this place. Because like,
Yeah.
it's like I don't decorate an office I'm gonna be in for 11 months. You know what I mean? Like it just didn't
Yeah,
make any
there's no point.
sense. So anyway, there's 2 empties over there. There's 2 over here, and that's because I cleaned up like yesterday pretty thoroughly. But at times, if I'm gaming, especially like last month when I was playing Tarkov, just a tremendous amount, there'd be a dozen around me because that's what I drink in a day. Like I would clean up at the end of the day but like the real thing was like, oh, can't swipe my mouse. I got to get these out of the way. They're closing in on me.
Well, my cans.
Yeah,
My
because it's all
precious
I drink is
cans.
soda. Yeah.
Now, do you ever see people with flip phones now?
Mhm.
At this
They got
point,
the-
it's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you trying to prove, sir?
It's a burner.
Oh,
phone.
someone doesn't need maps. Bragging
not-
about you have a good sense of direction. Fuck you. That's what I really think when I see people
I
with
don't
flip
mean a
phones. I'm like, wow,
traditional-
so someone doesn't get lost all the time. Fine.
I don't mean the traditional
Loser.
clamshell. Have you seen the new ones that are just like a screen? They're essentially your
Oh, the
phone,
folding
but, like,
screen. Yeah, yeah.
but folded in fucking half. Yeah,
It seems like something I don't need, and it just adds another failure point. Like if I'm gonna use my computer,
they put that
or
thing
my
in a
laptop.
machine, dude. They put that thing in a machine. I've watched it. They put it in that machine and like bent it over and over like 10 million times or something.
Well, I don't want
I-
that one. I want the one that hasn't been bent.
No,
10 million
no,
times.
they've all been bent. I
I
like
want
it,
that
but it
one.
just doesn't seem like it's worth the like extra money because like the main thing that I like about my phone is
That's not a feature. Imagine if you bought a grill and they're like, trust us, at the factory, someone used this to cook thousands of meals. You'd be like, fuck you, give me a new grill.
Like your phone. They don't bend your phone. They bent a phone to make sure that your phone could be bent without anything
every
going
phone.
awry. They don't bend them all.
We are losing so much money on this 10 million bend per phone policy. These are awful. Why can't we just rye about it?
Millions of factory workers dead. Carpal tunnel syndrome.
Don't rye about it.
Don't rye.
You're a ryer.
Don't be a ryer.
This manufacturing philosophy will not work for condoms. It comes with spunk in it. What the fuck?
I came in it 10 times. And it mostly worked. Yeah. I wanted to ask you, Wendigoon, what, to get very serious, not really, but like,
Right.
what is, because I know you're a Christian, what is the point of like the Christian sex where you're like, I think I have more not in common with you than in common with you? Like, because like most like Christians I've talked to about like Mormons will say like they've got the gist of it, but they are way out of line on a lot of fucking shit. But you know, they kind of got the core a bit right, other than the whole like other testament thing.
Yeah. I as far as Mormons go, I'm pretty absolutely removed from them. Everyone that I've talked to, I have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. It's like, wait, did you just make that part up? Which they're like, yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's the vibe. But yeah, them definitely far removed from things like Jehovah's Witnesses and all that. Anything that involves new revelations. So like, you know, you had the Bible, you had like, which the New Testament, which is the most recent part of the Bible, is entirely written by people who were alive and either were with Christ or were friends with the disciples who like wrote letters to them or whatever. So that's like Jesus. And then if any religion is like, yeah, and then 800 years later, there was a second part. That's where I'm like, no, I don't play ball with that. Because at that point, they're just adding stuff for their own, you know, whatever objective they want to get across.
Are you besmirching David Smith?
Yes, I am. As a matter of fact, a little. Yes,
good,
a lot.
Because that was the greatest con man this side of the Mississippi.
Yeah,
this side, both sides of the Mississippi, because he got booted to the other side.
Fucking shit.
But him, I'm not Catholic. Catholics are closer because, you know, they still believe in Christ and all that. Not a fan of like the church as an office or, you know, the Pope or the orders of the priest and all that. But if you believe in Christ, then, you know, we've got something to talk about. But there's a lot of people who they had a lot of asterisks to that term, a lot of
the
new ideas.
Thing, like I know most of my family's Catholic, but like the whole praying, like to like including Mary in your prayers was always to me like, what are we doing here? Like, there's no part in the New Testament that says to include Mary. It seems like this is a bunch of pomp and circumstance that they included, kind of like the Pharisees and Sadducees back in the day, to keep people kind of constricted based on ritual than by social constraints than by anything else. Like the same way confession, like if you've seen the bullshit people say now about like confession, actually like the reason it's a thing is because like the priest is meant to be like someone who helps you through problems. And it's like, no, that was not the impetus of confession. The impetus of confession was a way to goad an entire community into spilling secrets to a central position that then could use that information to control. Like no, literally in the fucking Bible, Jesus says, what did Jesus say? Did he say that when you pray, go into public loudly and raise your arms? No, Jesus said, when you pray, do not go into public and raise your arms and scream as the Pharisees and Sadducees do. Instead, go into your room in private. Just you and the Lord. Isn't that what Jesus said? I was under the impression that that was kind of spelled out in the middle of John, but I guess not, or no, Luke. Like, I really, that always fucking turned me the wrong way about Catholicism, is like, it takes all of what Jesus came back to do, which is fulfilling the covenant and making it so that the separation of fabrics and the not eating of pork, the shellfish, all this stuff was fulfilled. It's not to be followed anymore. and to tack on an additional layer of like, oh, now you have to worry about paying money to get out of to get your relatives out of purgatory. Like that's a despicable perversion of, if you believe in Christ and you believe that's what he came to do, that doesn't really gel. And I'm not even a religious person, really.
Wow, like that was cool. Sunday school Taylor popped out there. That was nice. I like that.
I want some consistency there, and I don't like. And the Catholics I know are good people. The vast majority of them are Christmas and Easter Catholics who don't care about it, who don't do. People don't know this. Most Catholics don't do confession. Like they don't go and do that shit.
Of course
anyway,
not.
But like, yeah, the whole impetus of it is like gross. It was a way to get dirt on people who trusted you and then use it for material gain. Fucked up.
I found out something about Waffle House today. I thought that like
you are always flush with new and exciting Waffle House news.
What is the latest and greatest in Waffle House news?
Well, see,
I love Waffle House.
Like growing up, I always thought of Waffle House as this thing that's just everywhere, and that's because Waffle House was invented here in Atlanta 70 years ago, and there are more Waffle Houses in Georgia than anywhere else. We got over 400 in this state. There's only like 2,200 or something roughly. So like
you're hoarding them. So
the rest of you don't have the concentration of Waffle House that we have, so you don't even understand the experience. I want to quickly tell the international audience and the lame-o Americans here who don't know what Waffle House is about, like what it's about. They cook the food right there in front of you on a big-ass griddle. And by they, I mean the ex-cons that are working there tonight. And it's a good thing they're there because they're probably going to be friends with a lot of the clientele who show up to fight later. So they'll be able to cool things off.
It's
don't
like
do it, bro.
hibachi.
You don't want to go in like I did. Like there's going to be a fight tonight. And the best part is the fight will be set to whoever had 50 cents last, because there's a jukebox in the goddamn corner. I know it doesn't make any sense, but there is. 50 cents gets you a fucking song in 2023. The bathrooms are disgusting, but the food is amazing. It really is good food because they don't skimp out on the ingredients. Don't get a T-bone steak there. That's just know where you are. But like, if you're getting like a waffle and some grits and eggs, it's an amazing breakfast place with a really fun clientele because they're open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. They don't care like whose birthday it is, who got liberated today, like who's proud this month. They're working every day.
Yeah.
Even their upper management, like their CEOs, it's fucking Christmas, bro. Get in here. It's the waffle way.
Maybe
waffle
Georgia
way.
has better Waffle Houses because that's where it is. Because the ones here that I've been to is not like they're not cooking stuff in front of you. It's not like
to hear that
hibachi style.
Where is they hiding the grill?
It's a guy in the back, and there's like
In
a
the
porch
back?
that you
There's
can
a
like
door?
see
No,
him.
you've been lied to.
Bullshit.
You've been lied to. That's
not
a
a real
Waffle
Waffle House.
No
Yeah,
way.
no, real
No way.
Waffle
They go into
House.
Huddle House or something.
Dude, there's a
Yeah.
The one in Columbia, Missouri
I
doesn't.
forget what happened. There was like a major hurricane that rolled into North Carolina, and Fayetteville was drowned. And it made the news that Waffle House used the locks. They closed. They're like, this is the
Wow.
first time we've
That's
locked the lock on this
insane.
door in 17 years.
My word.
They get robbed.
I eat at Waffle House all the time. I am a huge Waffle House connoisseur, big fan of it here in Tennessee. And one time, not too long ago, I was in a Waffle House at like 1 a.m. with some friends, and this lady came up to me and recognized me. And she, like, not to be mean to her, but she was a bit rougher looking. You know, it looked like she had like
Waffle House.
She belongs in a Waffle House, right? And I mean that in the best way. But she like took a picture with me and everything, and it was kind of quiet in there. So like all the workers saw like this girl taking a picture with me. So when I go up to pay the bill, the girl who's checking me out, she goes, "So that was Donna that you was with. How does Donna know you?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, I'm a YouTuber. I make videos." She said, "Oh, okay. We thought you was her parole officer."
Getting a photo with her parole officer. Man, I want to remember this time in my life forever.
This is good evidence that I was here at 1:15 a.m. on Tuesday.
That's hilarious. Yeah, you've made it. Getting recognized at Waffle House
That
at
really
I assume
is the move,
2:15 in the
yeah.
morning.
Like that's the point where you're like, so this is fame. This is what it's about.
Do you think
Did she at least comp you?
Getting mistaken for a parole officer in a Waffle House, what I always dreamed of. Yeah, yeah. Finally,
That means that
Maybe
you
that
looked
was-
respectable.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Or maybe they thought you were like undercover as like a sneaky parole officer trying to catch
Yeah.
you doing the dirt up there at Waffle House.
It was honestly probably just because I was wearing a collared shirt, and they were like, "Whoa,
That'll do it,
sir."
Oh, la-di-da!
If it's not
Becky,
Sunday
clean
after
the vomit
church,
off of Mister. What was your name, sir?
Oh, well, I
Wendigoon's
need
chair.
I didn't realize we were serving the president of these United States here tonight.
the health
Pants and
inspector's here,
shoes,
quick.
too.
Usually, I have gone in there. And
Wow,
it's like
someone's
30.
not even fall down drunk.
I've gone in before, and the tables had like someone else's like food like all over it, and but I just stood by the table until she came. I was like, you got to clean this. I was like, what? I was like, the fucking table, the whole fucking thing. Like there's
the
like
other guy's meal.
there's like a dead straw wrapper there. Like I could tell he had hash browns and he likes ketchup on them. Like, come on, like what the fuck are you doing to me? But most of the time it's okay. I'll tell you where my fond memories come from. It's from hunting, and being up really early. And like if you wanted, like any time that we would get up at night to do like some nighttime farmer shit, it was Waffle House, and it was just I've got a lot of like good memories there where there weren't, I don't know, people fighting, which happens there a lot. It was just like, I don't know, me and my dad and like a waitress at like 4 a.m. or something like there, sitting there having coffee. So
What's a
I like Waffle
nighttime
House.
farming activity?
Oh man, when they catch, so you're there raising chickens from like little yellow peep thing to big white bird that gets butchered and thrown into frozen dinners and whatnot. And that happens over the course of 7 weeks. At the end of that 7 weeks, they show up to get them. And I don't know if you've ever considered how they get 150,000 chickens.
No, but I've
put
seen
them on a-
Yellowstone.
I don't know what they do on Yellowstone. Do they have one of those
Horseback is
machines?
involved.
Have you never seen that where they usher the herds of chicken across the plains?
With the
Someone tried that at one point and lost a lot of money.
Man, I really thought at least a few
I'm
of them
gonna
was going to make it across the
revolutionize ranching. Wait, fuck! No, don't go over there.
river. So what they do is, if you've ever seen like a semi truck loaded down with white big chickens,
I think I have.
then and they're crammed in there in those big cubes, the cube cages, essentially. What they do is they do this at night because if the chickens can't see you coming, they go docile and just kind of sit still. They do it at night in complete darkness. All the equipment in the chicken house gets raised up to the ceiling via like these drills that like winch it up, and then everything gets moved out of the way. And now you have an ocean of 25 to 40,000 7-pound chickens sitting there, kind of half awake. And then they like burst the doors open, and like a dozen Mexicans storm in there wearing armor and respirators, and they start grabbing them, as many as they can in a handful. They have this really crazy, I've seen them do it. Like they'll get a chicken's foot between each finger, like one, and each chicken is held by 1 foot. So they can just reach in and have like a dozen birds in like 6 in each fist.
And they're all dressed like Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah. And they're covered. They're on the outside. They're wearing like long johns because they're doing the filthiest, scariest work ever. And these things have talons to not. Yeah, I guess nothing scary, but if they get you, then you've got an open wound in a very filthy environment. So they're all armored up with like cloth and respirators and goggles and shit. And they're grabbing them up a dozen at a time and slinging them into those cage cubes that are being delivered and retrieved like clockwork by front end loaders. And those front end loader drivers, they're on methamphetamine 110% of the time, and they are fucking swinging those steel fucking forks around, and like guys are jumping out of the way, and it's just like, get the fuck out of his way then. Like
he's got a job to do.
So that's the nighttime farm. It's going in there and raising all that equipment up.
I actually honestly thought this is how it was done. Like if you had never told me, they back the truck up to the building. The door for the building is shaped and sized exactly perfect for the truck. And then they put ramps, and I really thought they just herded the chickens in like they were cattle.
Nah, they're shitty, dude. Like they're really, really, really stupid, and they're in a herd of 25,000.
Scary.
You can drive them with flashlights a little, but the problem is that the modern chicken isn't built to deal with a lot of excitement. They'll have heart attacks in very high numbers, like anything that spooks them. Like when they talk about foxes getting in, they'll kill a few, but a fox can only eat so many chickens.
Yeah.
He'll spook 1,000 of them, or even worse, he'll scare them and they'll pile up on top of each other and suffocate everything on the bottom layer. And then because they're already in a bacteria-rich environment at a high temperature and their body heat combines with that, they decompose at an incredible rate. After seeing how fast they can decompose, I mean, like 6 hours, they've turned purple and putrid.
Really?
After seeing that, it's like in the right environment, you would think that like a human body would just disappear in like a couple weeks or something like that. If it's out there in like a filthy enough, like the right conditions, and certainly if there's predation, like if there's anything to come and take hunks out, but just like sitting there on that floor, they would turn into the most disgusting shit that you'd have to get a shovel to clean up.
How big is like this pile? I'm trying to picture like the pile of chickens. Like big enough to cause like how tall is that to cause like a purple rotting in 6 hours? I can't believe that.
Halfway up your knee. It depends how big they are, like how big each bird is. So like maybe knee high in a corner, they just pile up and die. They're fucking retarded. Like they'll just a rat will come in when they're little babies, and apparently the most tender part of like a chicken is like the back of its fucking neck or something. And so it's either that or rats kill for fun, like pure enjoyment of it. Because what they would do is they would go in, and these are those little yellow peep thing. Like their wings are just like little things. The rat would come and he would kill between 100 and 150 of them in a sitting, and he would pile them up, and they would all have one wound on the back of its neck where it like fucking killed them. Maybe it like it didn't eat any of them. It was killing them for fun, or the back of the neck is the tasty bit, and I don't believe that. So it was just killing them for fun. And the cool part, not cool because it's like, oh, all those poor baby chickens that I was going to sell for meat in 7 weeks. Really, you're just going to shovel them. But it's like, he piled them up. Did he pile them up because that's fun for him and he's keeping score and he likes to see a big pile? Or did he know I was coming?
I know I was coming.
And there's a little fuck you.
I think like if you left gum wrappers and rotten eggs and shit like that the rat would take them and put them in his stash.
So this isn't in his stash. He's killing them and making a pile right there, which means he's moving them, he's killing them from the area and he's bringing them back to this in the floor, just in the middle of the room there. He's just left your little pile. I've seen it multiple times and it's creepy. So when my dad first bought that place, someone else had allowed it to become infested with rats, and that was the problem. I was a little kid at this time, and getting rid of the rats was a real ordeal because they were smart and they stopped eating the poison after a while. So we would go in there at night and we'd flick all the lights on, 1,000 light bulbs light up, and you could see them running, like a herd of them, running from where we are back to the very rear of the building. And the rear of the building just has this flat wall. They're doors, but they're like the biggest church doors you can imagine that like swing like barn doors, like double. And there's a screen door on the inside of that big wooden door, but it's chicken wire. So they climb up that chicken wire, their little paws. So you can, when they get to the back, you can see them flowing up the wall, going into the ceilings. It's where they live. They live up in the ceiling or under the concrete pad. So we go back there and I'd have a shotgun and my dad would have a pistol. and while they were running up, it was just shooting them off the wall as they ran. We shot the doors off the building. we had to replace the doors on the building after like a while. But we shot all the rats. We would also do this thing. This is what you do on a farm because there's literally nothing to fucking do. Gassing rats was a real just great day. So
the winner of an activity. And
I was the best rat gasser of them all. I promise you. It was like in a different life I had. Well, anyway, so we take a truck.
God!
You take a truck
where that didn't go.
And you hook the exhaust up. You hook the exhaust up to a pipe, and you pump that down into the rat hole. And the rat has like made a network of like Viet Cong-esque tunnels under a big slab of concrete. And you can see there's exits on every side, 2 or 3 on every side of this square, big rectangle, really big surface, like the size of a garage, and it's out in the open. And so we jam up every hole we can see, except for 2. One we gas, the other we wait at with pistols. So I'm like on the other side with like a Ruger 22 pistol in each hand, and as they run out, I'm fucking two gunning them as they like as they try to get by. They're a little groggy, so that makes it easy. They're pretty fucked up from that gas, and it's all bright when they come out. It's the middle of the day, so they're easy to deal with.
Did you ever try did you ever try your hand at the actual like gathering of the chickens like that, like grab by their foot?
Fuck no, that is not something that's their job. That's on that's like I don't know how else to put it. That was just their job. That's a thing that like it's like out of our hands at a certain point, and it's like done. Like we don't have to worry about like if they get slaughtered or if that truck careens into a ditch along the way. We'll just get average pay. Like, oh, one truck died. What do you get paid per truck on average? All right, we'll pay you that. Like for spillage or whatever. Like once they've laid hands on them, our job's fucking over. I don't give a shit what happens, and I'm not touching them. That's the most disgusting job in all of it. When those guys come out, man, I feel bad for those guys. You'll see them at gas stations and stuff. Like they're in a white cargo van, and it's like 8, 12, like always Mexican guys. I've never seen anyone else do that job because it's so rough and it must not pay well. And they are filthy. And like after they've done their work, they're just in there piled up sleeping, because sometimes the job will be at my dad's farm and they'll start at night, and then the whole day will pass and they'll go again the next night, and they're just sleeping in that van out there, filthy, with no bathroom. Dad's telling me, you better not be shitting behind my building. And they got to deal with that. It's a rough job.
That sounds awful. They should get paid more. Sounds like a difficult job. I didn't know if that was one of the duties that like they show up and you're like, oh please, Dad, don't ask me to help with this one.
Fuck no, I wouldn't help if I'd been asked or told to, or that's a really shitty job. I'm telling you, like I don't run away from home. I don't know where you go. Like if you run away from home, where the fuck do you go?
It is embarrassing once you realize you have nowhere to go.
Yeah,
man, I've got no money. Like I'm 11. Like I'm gonna make some pedophile's day on the road.
Like best case scenario. Dude, it's such a ridiculous proposition. I remember I was having an argument with my dad when I was, I don't know, 6. I had a driver's license, and just real screaming match, and he was just like, "Get out of here, go!" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like laughing now. He's like, "Leave, you're out." I'm like, "No, I'm not. Look, you can't kick me out. I just did it." I'm like, you can't, because I have nowhere to go. I was like, what am I going to do? Park the truck at the grocery store and live there now? No, you're not going to like that when your friends walk by and I'm out there. Please, Mr. Jacobs, my daddy threw me out. Please, will you buy me some potato wedges inside the grocery store, sir? I've got 17 cents. And he's just like, well, shit, I guess I can. Fuck.
Fuck. Touche, son.
I like that Dad was reasonable with situations like that, because there was also the time when, and he didn't know it, but he did have room to negotiate. But me and my cousin were on the back porch making what's the word?
Bong.
It sounds like that, but it explodes. And so we were making so we were making this device out there about yay big, and I was wrapping her up, and my dad's watching me wrap it up, and I've explained to him like how it works and why it's safe, and like how I've tried it on smaller scales, and now this is the big boy, and how that washing machine out there is about to meet a very untimely end. But I'm doing it 300 meters from the house, and you'll be able to see it from here. It'll be cool. My mom's like, "You're just gonna let him sit there and do that? You're just gonna let him sit there and make a bomb?" and he goes, "What do you want me to do? How can I stop him?" And I was thinking, like, just a simple stop would have done it, Dad. At any point during the construction of this device, you'd said stop, I would have thrown her away. But too late now. Let's close that washing. And that washing machine turned inside fucking out. That thing was.
How did it go off? Was there a fuse or?
Yeah. So you can.
How did you build it specifically?
Yeah. So what you want to do?
I mean, as opposed to shooting it. Or like,
Oh man, I can tell you, it's
ahead,
so
Kyle,
easy.
Get the book out. Look,
I've told y'all how to do it before. You just go back to that one, or you could just sparklers.
People have made things out of sparklers, and it was more potent than they expected it to be, and it was trouble.
Yeah,
It's on
those
like
are
news
stupid
stories.
People.
Like,
See, all right,
remember?
so people who would make sparkler devices, they would like do stuff to the sparklers. Nothing crazy. You can see videos of it on YouTube that they still allow that for some reason. They do. But depending on what kind of sparkler you use, it'll have two different effects. If you use one color, most colors really, because of the chemical composition they use to get that color. Not a chemist, I don't fucking know. But what it'll do is it'll like create this huge meltdown effect where all the steel rods that are in the center of this big bundle of sparklers just sort of fuse together in this like melty pot metal pool of like scariness, and it'll fizzle and sparkle sometimes, especially if like any water hits it. It's real dangerous to be around because it's so hot and it's so concentrated. But if you use a certain other color, who knows which one, it's just a bomb. It's just a like a heat sensitive explosive, like real quickly. And it was shocking to me how cheap they were and how like readily available. I pulled up with a shopping cart full. I mean, remember Breaking Bad when he's like lecturing the guy, you don't get everything. Buy your things piecemeal.
One place.
Yeah.
You draw suspicion. I'm literally there with a shopping cart full of who knows what color and cannon fuse. Like nothing else. Like rolls of
You've
cannon
got
fuse.
like a Milky Way on
We
top
have
to
some
throw them
celebrating
off.
to do.
and they're like,
Put a birthday card on top of it.
but they were like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm making sparkler devices. And they're like, really? That works? And I'm like, yeah. Notice that these are 13 cents a box. Like it was wildly cheap for what they were and what they would.
Do you guys remember? I remember like as a kid seeing news stories about that like every Halloween time, where like anchors would get on there and be like, the new thing teenagers are doing with sparklers, more at 7. I remember like my parents watching that, and even then thinking like, I don't think like this is telling more people how to do this, man. Like the fact that
I learned
Fox
from YouTube.
4 is talking about this right now is actually not helpful if they're trying to reduce this.
Yeah, I learned from
doing it though. Like I know Kyle was, but like I don't know. I'm stuck.
Overblown, so overblown. So this is for Wendigoon. I was poking around your channel recently, and you've been leaning. You always do, but like scary stuff. I think that's my favorite of your content is like the unnerving, spooky things and
the weirdness.
What would your recommendation like? What's a good rabbit hole for me if I want to get like fucking like scared? And and if it doesn't matter to me at all, if I end up at the end and I'm like, I don't buy this, or I end up at the end and I'm like, oh my God, this seems real. Take that out of it. Like just scare me.
Is there anything specific you're afraid of? Like, is there one kind of fear, one lingering thing that bothers you per se?
I'm more afraid of like serial killer style people than I am of like ghosts and that kind of stuff. So like someone who like tortures people is scary and like unexpectedly like is in your house one day and he kidnaps you and tortures you in your basement. That's a lot scarier to me than like, I think I saw an apparition.
Like, I will say some, because I've read, whenever I did the serial killer series, I read through a lot of transcripts of like evidence that like, initial police crime scene reports of how murders were and like interviews they did with the killer. And some of the worst ones I remember was William Bonin. I forget his real name, but the Golden State Killer. And the guy who was called like the Vampire of Colombia, his name, it was a Spanish name, I forget what it was. Those were the 3 that when I went through the series, I was a different person after reading through like everything that they did.
Okay, I'm not familiar with this guy William Bonin.
So William Bonin. Let me make sure I'm saying that name right.
Or William Bonin, perhaps.
Yeah, is it the guy who looks like me? He has long hair when you look at the picture, because everyone made that joke.
Yes, a little bit.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Everyone made that joke. William Bonin was a child murderer who, what he would do is he had a couple accomplices who, if I remember correctly, were guys who were like either, I can't remember if they were mentally ill or if they were younger and just kind of like, he kind of suckered them into what he was doing. It started out as like, hey, we're going to rob some people. And then eventually it got to child murder. But he had this van he would drive around in. and he would get kids. He'd find like these boys who were like 14, 15. It's like, hey, you want to go to a party? We're gonna have like beer and stuff. And he'd get the kids to hop in the van. Yeah, there it is. That's the picture everyone says looks like me. He'd get the kids to hop in the van, and it was in California. He would just take them down some back road, and like the details of what he did to these children are all manner of depraved for hours on end. And then like the part that I remember, because like, I read about a lot of stuff like that where it's like, yeah, he did XYZ to the boys, and then he would strangle them, I think was the way he'd kill them. But he would take stuff from them and then use it later as a joke. Like one of the accomplices said that there's one boy he killed who had like $40 on him. So he kept the $40, and the next time they picked up a kid, they're like, hey, you want McDonald's? So they go and get McDonald's, and he's using the $40 and poking his accomplice like, hey, remember where this came from? Isn't that funny? And like, just like
Jesus. So just
not
sadistic.
Not just depravity, but like relishing in it, like how much he enjoyed it. Like, and when he was caught, like no regret, just like, well, there it is,
Yeah.
I think it might have been him. It might have been someone else, but I'm pretty sure it was him, that while he was in jail, he wrote letters to the mothers of the kids he killed talking about how much he enjoyed killing them. Like,
yeah, I know that Albert Fish did that.
Albert Fish did that
in the late 1800s. Like, and
the
Albert Fish letters are so fucking depraved. We've talked about it on this show years and years ago. Like, he like kidnapped, murdered, and then like ate children.
Yeah.
And then he would write letters to the parents of those children, bragging about how he maneuvered their kid, what he did to them before, how he cooked them, how delicious they were, thanking them for it. Like the most if Albert Fish was a character in a movie today, you'd go, I can't get into this. It's unrealistic.
He's way too over the top.
It's unrealistic.
Yeah.
At least tamp it down to a Joffrey or a Ramsay. This guy's over the top. I can't buy into this. Like, but it's a good reminder. Like evil, like there are evil people. Like there are people who not only are indifferent, but they get off on harming others.
That guy, Albert Fish, he was so messed up that when he was in court, he asked to be executed by guillotine because he said if he was able to hear the blood rush from his neck for a split second when it happened, that would be the best pleasure he could ever experience. Like just an animal, just like monster. Yeah.
He was like independent, like he was sadistic and masochistic. So like he would torture the shit out of children, and then he would like put his penis and testicles like on top of his kitchen table and nail it to the table.
Yep.
Like that. Like, and so he was a lunatic
in places. Yeah, he was. That guy needed to be put down.
That's a fun like little story right before bed. Highly recommended. Albert Fish. Look into him. Read the Albert Fish letter. It's reprehensible.
But yeah, so like
those are good suggestions. I got them pulled up now. Look at
those serial killers are good. I would also suggest some like cult leaders are often kind of treated as like a hee hee ha ha, like a goofy, like isn't this guy quirky? Like even if there were murders, it's like wow, these people were so dumb or whatever. But when you read about like some of the ways that cult leaders indoctrinated people around them, it is depressing. Like Ervil LeBaron. He was one of the guys. He's a lot of people misunderstand LeBaron as being like a founder of Mormonism. He was famous because in the early days of Mormonism, he got kicked out and started like a whole cult separate to Mormonism.
Okay.
He was like a big practicer of polygamy and stuff like that. And what he would do is he had a theory that he pulled out of the Old Testament, and he called it blood redemption. I think it's blood redemption, blood sacrilege, something like that. And it was the idea that some people were so sinful in their lives, the only way that they could go to heaven is if they're murdered by righteous people and like a prayer said over them or whatever. So what Ervil would do is if there was like, say he had like, 20 wives or whatever, and say one of the daughters of one of those wives disagreed with him or tried to leave, he would go to the mother of that girl and be like, hey, do you want your daughter to go to heaven? You're going to have to kill her. And like he would talk these poor delusional people into murdering family members because he said it's the only way they could get into the gates. And like reading the testimonies of people who were in that group Oh my word, some of the most terrifying stuff
Yeah.
ever. That guy was absolutely evil. But yeah, there's a lot of cult leaders like that who are very messed up.
Who are some other interesting, some other cult lead? I'm woefully misinformed or uninformed, I guess, on so much of the cult shit. I don't know enough about that. Heaven's Gate is about like the extent of what I've looked into, but that's like the Beatles of cults. Like, and so like you can't really say like, oh yeah, I'm into cults, and it's like, oh, name 3 cults. Heaven's Gate.
Name their album. Name 3 of their albums.
Yeah,
Go
name
ahead.
3 of their albums, idiot. Oh man, I've been called out. So I need to find a better one. But like you're 1,000,000% right about the whole cult thing of people being smarmy and smug. Like these idiots, they didn't know. It's like
these
people who are in
people.
like influence circles, cults, like they can't see outside it. By design, all of their interactions and the social cost of disagreement are incorporated into that. If they had a robust system and network of people who weren't involved in that cult, then it would be easier. Like that's why the first step of any cult or like indoctrination is separating you from your family, separating you from your friends, making you believe that nothing can be trusted except for what is said here. And when you're surrounded by a bunch of people who have done the same thing, you know, Tony, he distanced from his family and his friends, and he hasn't had an issue with it. What's wrong with you? Are you not bought in? Do you not believe what we believe? Like those kind of social
You're not going to let it down,
yeah.
are you? You're not. You're one of us. You're not going to go against it. Yeah, that happens all the time.
You like, pretty much your only friends and family are us now, and you're disappointing us. Like, what's going to happen?
There's this weird misconception, and a lot of it's just because they don't know any better. But there's this misconception a lot of people have that like happy people who were doing well in life join cults, but it's almost never that. It's like I don't know if I've talked about them before. I know it was on a podcast. I don't think it was on PKA. I talked about the Anthill Kids. Did I do this diatribe?
I don't recall the Anthill Kids. No.
Okay.
Tell us about it.
The Anthill Kids were a cult in the 70s. It was either the 60s or 70s. They were led by a guy named Roche Thoreau. Roche, I think it's either Roch or Roche. It's a French name. Roche was a pastor in, I forget what denomination of church. It was some branch of Christianity for
Seventh-day Adventist.
Yes, thank you. Seventh-day Adventist. Before he broke off and then up in French Canada began this farm. And what he would do is he would go to these people in bars. He would pray apparently for women like near like hospitals, like women who had miscarriages. Like he was seeking out people who were in the worst point of their life. And he'd effectively start with the evangelist thing of like, hey, Jesus loves you. Do you want a home? Do you want a community? And he started inviting people to this farm he was effectively building up in the mountains. And he did this for years. So for years, it was just a group of people who had nowhere to go. They were completely lost. And then someone offers them food, shelter, and friendship. And it was years of that before it became what it eventually turned into. And that's how people get indoctrinated to the point that they join and become a part of a cult. It's not just like, and I want to be abused by, some charismatic figure. But like Roche was... It was a very slow decline. The first step of it, I believe, is he started having them do labor. Like, okay, you go work and I'll stay here and run things. And people were like, yeah, that makes sense. And it's like, hey, do you care to help build like the houses around here? And they're like, yeah, that makes sense. And then it started to be like, I think I need to have children with the women here. And the single women were like, absolutely. Yeah, I'm down for it. But then the husbands were like, hey, I could give my wife to this guy. So then he has all these children that are his. And then after, I think the cult, there was a period of time he went to jail and like every day, all of them would come to the jail and talk to him. He went to jail for like several months. I think the cult lasted for about 15 years. And by the end of it, there were so many violence scenarios that happened. But one of the more intense ones was a woman tried to run away after I think he had forced himself on her. I can't remember the scenario. But she tried to run away, and it was in the middle of Canada in the winter, so it was freezing. And these men brought her back, and he, in front of everyone, he dragged her onto, like, he had like a church set up. He dragged her to the altar, pulled a hatchet, and cut her arm off at the front of the room in front of everyone, and no one did anything. They were just like, yeah, she went against us. What else are we going to do? And she's crying and screaming, and then he just puts down the axe and holds her and starts patting her like, shh, it's okay. And everyone was just like, yeah, this is fine.
This is what happens when you mess with the cult leader.
The thing the thing that eventually did them in was a woman died during, it was something like she got sick or she got cut, and I forget the details, but Roche did something like he ordered someone to put a bag over her mouth or something like that. He ordered them to do something that got her killed. And then there was a period of time where they tried to hide her body, and then her family came looking for her, and eventually everything got found out. Oh, it was the woman who got her arm cut off. She escaped while the police were investigating, and she went to the police, told them what happened, and all of them got arrested. But yeah, these people were conditioned over the period of over a decade to be like, yeah, if he wants to cut her arm off, like, that's his right. That's what we get. And that's scary to read about, like situations like that where people are absolutely at the will of some madman.
And you have to remember like something else with it is like the longer someone is in a cult or in like one of those circles, the more like sunk cost is involved. And so like someone who's in a cult for 2 days is a lot more likely to be talked out of it. If you've been in there for years, like that is your life. Leaving that is not only changing your whole life and uprooting yourself, it's also an admission that you were fooled. And I don't remember who said it, but it's a lot easier to fool people than to convince them they've been fooled. And so like you spend 5 years in a cult, like that's your fucking life. Like you're not going to let anything separate you from that because those are your friends. That's your family.
So what are we defining as cults? Like what how do you know it's a cult? Like someone tells you, hey, Taylor, look, I found myself. There's this group of people. They got a new way of doing things, and I like it. And for the first time in my life, I feel at peace. You know what? I'm leaving my job behind. I'm putting all my money into this. We all did. And look, hey, I am definitely not the richest guy there, buddy. I'm gonna tell you that right now. We're pulling a lot of money together so we can all just live in fucking harmony. And that's all there is to it. I mean, there's a guy in charge, and he takes a cut. But Father Michael keeps us together. He keeps us guided on the path of that God wanted us to be on, the one he originally wanted us to be on. You know what I mean? No owls. And it's a good place. Like, what do you say to this guy?
I mean, it's hard because like so much of like the cult part is the insistence on removal of yourself socially from your existing connections. So if you were inviting me and you were like, yeah, bring your family, bring your friends, like we meet up every week and we're going to hang out and we do this, I'd be like, okay, this isn't a cult. They're not trying to separate me from my life. If you were like, hey, in addition to this, Taylor, I think you should come stay on this compound with me for a while. No, just you. I don't think your parents and your friends, I don't think they're bought in yet, honestly. Do you think they are? No, I don't think they're like you and I agree. But yeah, come on. Then I'd be like, okay, like this guy's trying to fucking put layers between me and the people I'm familiar with. This is a cult.
I've never seen anything like that, honestly. I'm glad that I was never cool enough, I guess, to be invited to a cult.
I haven't been invited either.
Not even the Klan. Like I remember my dad told me.
How many Klansmen are there? Like 13 FBI agents? Like, who the fuck is in the Klan in 2023?
Unironically.
My dad said that when they were all like, I don't know, 19 or 20, that the Klan would come around. He's like, they came around. Like they were in the back of a pickup truck with a loudspeaker.
Like a traveling show? Like
no, like
Barnum and Bailey's. Come one, come all. Well, but not really.
They go around and let everybody know, hey, tonight we're going to be out over here. We're having a big meeting. And look, you don't have to join or anything. We just want you to hear us out. And like everybody went. He was like, we heard him out. Wasn't really for us. The hoods and such.
That'd be hilarious. Like a sketch where like instead of a Mormon coming to your house, like it's a KKK guy, and you're like trying to be polite. You're like, I know, man. Okay. Yeah, sure. I'm in the middle of something right now. I'm so sorry. Like, can you not come back later ever? Like, or just lie and be like, oh, how can I help you today? Like, and then he'll leave. He'll be like, oh,
a few months ago, it got posted onto Facebook, I think, and it showed up, like people were putting flyers up around town that said there was going to be a KKK rally in my county. They're like, the Klan's coming, and it's like, bring your kids, bring your friends, but we're having a grill out. yeah, come one, just the one. But yeah, it was like it's going to be in this county. It's going to be at this location, and like I saw it, and I'm like, this is a troll. This is absolutely a troll. It has to be.
Yeah.
Like even if the Klan was here, you don't put flyers up outside a Pizza Hut. Like that's insane. But I was like, this is clearly a troll. But I'm excited to see what happens. And boy, did something happen. The sheriff had a speech, like in a small Tennessee county. The sheriff had like local papers come, and he was like, "We do not support this kind of tolerance. Why, it's free speech. We stand against it." The judge put out a statement. What's like I'm going brain dead right now.
Comptroller.
President.
President of a county. What mayor? The mayor.
Mayor.
Yeah,
we got there. We got there.
We got it. Yeah, one piece at a time. Yeah, the mayor was like, they put out like a statement on Facebook that was like, "We do not stand by this. This isn't a part of blah blah blah." And the day came it was the location that they had listed was by like a riverbank just out of town. And when the day came, pictures were going around on Facebook, like 200 pickup trucks with machine guns in the back of them. Like every good old boy in the county showed up. They were sitting on top of their Ford F-150s with an AR-15, like, let's see the Klan try to rally in our county. And they just stood out there for a few hours, then went home. It's all that happened.
That ain't the kind of shit we're for around these parts. Hey, feller, you take that.
Believe the Klan they let Polacks in.
Feller, this ain't the kind of intolerance we're fond of around these parts.
Dude, I'm rewatching.
Me and my black wife are gonna have to ask you kindly to get the hell out of our town. And my beautiful little Miss Grace kids don't need your hate anywhere near our beautiful city here. In Whiteburg, Tennessee.
Whiteburg. We don't stand by the Klan.
No, we don't like it. You take your
Unless
shit out of here. They're like ripping on Klans people for like not being real Southerners, not being real country people. This feller's he ain't even on a farm.
You bunch of carpetbaggers coming down here, you can't wear that on a farm. It get too hot.
Feller, I got a feeling you're more of a 4chan shit poster than
that was literally me reading
your hands are looking mighty soft for a supposed man of the South.
I like the saying all hat, no cattle.
That is
all
a good
hat,
saying.
no cattle. That's good.
Yeah.
That's what the chicken farmer would be. All hat, no cattle.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, we had some cattle.
Right.
All hat, cattle.
I didn't do a lot of cattle stuff. I wanted to talk about the cult. I've been watching The Wire. No, well, okay, let's stay on cults. Yeah, actually, let's stay on cults. Did you have a cult thing?
I thought you had another cult question.
What he did have a cult question that got cut off. Do you remember?
I was asking about how the money worked.
Good.
Oh, for the anthill kids?
Yeah, well, in general, like how do they get
just
people to give up their resources and give them to someone like it?
So it depends on the cult. Sometimes they'll have a few benefactors. Like sometimes they'll convince a couple rich guys, and that's where most of the money comes from. Sometimes, like I don't think Waco was a cult to the degree people say it was, but it's definitely a cult in some
Branch
regard.
Davidians, eh?
Mm-hmm.
The Branch Davidians, yeah. The way that they did it is Koresh just stayed at the compound, but everyone worked in town, and there was
how I know it was a cult?
Fun. How's that?
Because they're called the Branch Davidians. And,
Correct.
As a kid, that rolls off the tongue on the newscast, and you don't ever stop to think about what it means. David Koresh leads the Davidians. You know what I mean? Like it's a cult. The real question about that is, were they sexually abusing children and fostering an environment in which that was to be normal and commonplace? Or did the FBI lie about that after they burnt all those children alive?
So from all the research, all the stories I've read on the topic, I do think the FBI fostered the story. There were several CPS investigations before all of that went down. They were never able to turn up any evidence, and everyone who was a part of it vehemently attested that didn't happen. That was,
I say it's 50-50. I'm 50-50 on it. Here's why. I just think, it just seems like historically, And from every example we ever have, whenever you have some dude who's running a cult, it's all about pussy, and it ends up being about underage pussy for some reason. We haven't been able to put our finger on that one here yet, despite all our study. Research expert Woody here, he's delved deep and hard, and he hasn't come up with
as deep as I can. I don't mean to brag. I mean,
yeah, it hurts after a while. So, but I don't know what they were. I don't know if that was the case or not, but I'd say 50-50 it was, right? It just seems like it almost always that's what's going on. Even with like the good religions, the ones that we pretend aren't cults, it's like that's what's going on there too.
I'm going to balance that out. I'm going to say 0% chance they were doing that, and it was the FBI lying. So now the average is back. No, I have done no research. I have no idea.
Okay, so let me tell you about this. So here's what I saw on the news, and I don't know if this was the FBI being like, oh, look at what we found. It was like a kid's sort of informational pamphlet that you would hand to, like, I don't know, a kid to prepare them for their sexual life that's coming right around the corner.
Like your body's changing. Like that.
No, more like David's gonna fuck you.
that's true.
You may notice hair. You may notice hair where there wasn't hair before. You may notice a man named David walking into your room erect at night and demanding things of you. This is all part of becoming a woman.
Yeah, so I saw those pamphlets on the news, and the only question is, like, if you could find out those were fake, I feel like that's the little piece of evidence that matters to me.
So I looked into the pamphlets, and from every article I read, that was not evidence that was brought forward by any State Department. That was entirely mentioned by news sources and never backed by anything.
Yikes.
All the cult members said that it's kind of like, you remember how after, like, well, I was too young to remember, but looking back, after 9/11, they were like, oh, and we found the hijacker's passport in the wreckage. Yeah. Like that whole, like, no, you didn't. What are you talking about? Like, it was kind of like that. The news is like, hey, I know what we can do to be sensational for the next half hour.
Sure.
So from everything I read, that's
where'd that pamphlet come from? Like, where'd it come from? Someone made that shit. Someone printed it off of a printer. Someone stapled it together. Someone drew those little stick figure children. You know what I mean? Someone wrote it. Yeah. And the only answer that comes to mind is that's the sort of thing that our government does sometimes when they're taking somebody down, like a political figure or something like that. They make those sorts of false evidences famously. Yeah. Like if you look at the sort of things they were doing to Martin Luther King or Malcolm X, or even we talked about, it's people we don't like as well. It's not like they're just picking on civil rights leaders. Also, like Fidel Castro, just all those Wile E. Coyote stunts they tried to pull, making his beard fall out, making him be on LSD during his speeches, all that craziness, kookiness. And the bad part is they kept failing somehow. Like, how did Fidel keep getting the best of us over and over? That had to be such an L.
Operation Mongoose, which was their operation to kill him or depower him or whatever, is the dumbest. It's literally like they watched a Bugs Bunny cartoon and were like, we could do this. We could.
What is it?
Like, so it was an operation the CIA put together that was off the books for a while. The guy who headed it was, man, I forget his name. He's the same guy who headed Operation Wailing Soul, which is when they tried to convince the Vietnamese that there were ghosts in the jungle.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it was the same guy who ran that one.
Ridiculous country.
and the same guy who staged the vampire attack in the Philippines, which I made a video about.
Yeah, but that was his credit that he used to get that second game.
Literally, that's the guy who they're like, he's got Castro in the bag. He'll be fine.
Castro, notoriously afraid of ghosts.
So the Operation Mongoose was essentially his series of plans to get rid of Castro. And some of the plans in there that they sent agents on to try to do was put exploding cigars in his cigar box. They tried to put poisonous pins in his house shoes so that he steps on attack and gets poisoned, or venom. They tried to sabotage the cattle in Cuba because Castro was famously a big fan of ice cream. So they were like, if we can get rid of ice cream, huge.
2 pints a night.
How literally
slim.
If we can get their plan was if we can get rid of ice cream, he's gonna fall apart. Like he'll fall apart at the seams.
He needs his ice cream.
They tried to poison his ice cream on multiple occasions. They tried to have his server like spike it with something. There was what Kyle said. They tried to spike his drink at meetings so he would go up to stage high.
Yeah. I did hear they painted a tunnel on a rock in front of the boat.
That's what they were getting to.
And it was insane. Look, Fidel's limo approaches the rock they painted, and the CIA was over there watching, like, oh, we got him this time. Did you fucking believe it? He drove through the rock. And the CIA was like, all right, well, we can still get him. And they rushed to run through the rock as well. Bust their heads on it right there, fell on the ground. It was humiliating. It was
hoisted
humiliating
by their own petard.
That was the downfall of that weapon manufacturer. What was Acme?
Acme. Yeah.
Yeah. They made terrible weapons.
They could never recover after that. Yeah, that was the reputation.
No.
But yeah, they tried to kill him in so many.
A pint of ice cream is roughly
Never
800
worked.
calories. Like if he's eating vanilla ice cream, I think a pint's like 800 calories roughly if it's full fat ice cream. And you got to imagine that 1960 shit is not skim milk. That ain't no oat ice cream. That's some full. That's double fat.
He must have been skimping on calories a lot of the day to afford
Drinking
1,600
smoking those ciggies.
Was he a big
he had
drinker?
2 bowling balls in his belly.
That guy.
You
that
guys
guy
act
was,
like he stayed thin.
All the photos I
don't
remember of him are like young him with that powerful beard.
We're remembering
He
like
was-
the young picture. He probably got fat as hell.
Here's the thing, though. Remember how long he lived? Like he just died like 10, 12
died
years ago or
recently.
something.
No,
Raul?
it was like 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago.
But
I remember
Raul
it
had
happening.
taken over, I guess, maybe for a while.
Yes, yeah. Castro had been older to the side for a bit. Yeah, Raul
I'm
had
glad
been
we
around
opened that shit up. Like that's old business as far as I'm concerned. Like we should be able to get those cigars if they're actually any fucking good.
then.
Cigars
Yes, yeah.
suck, man.
There
They're
was
just they're gross. They just
I'm
don't
willing-
taste good. Have you ever like
All right.
every
I've
time you
told
start
my-
a cigar, you're always feeling like I'm gonna feel classy, I'm gonna get it, and then you start it and you're thinking, I'm in this for an hour.
I've told this whole story before, but like I got into cigars and because I got like a humidor and maybe some other like accessories for Christmas one year, and I had like I got a $300 lighter. Like we should probably buy a cigar. and so I got into them and I realized right away like the regular like I don't know kind of cigars that like dudes smoke on a golf course just make me lightheaded and taste like strong, thick, wet tobacco. But the ones I like were these cigarillos that were somewhere kind of like that shit Clint Eastwood would always be chewing on, like about that diameter. It's not a big fat cock that you're puffing on. It's just a little bit bigger than a cigarette, but it's brown wrapping and they're flavored. I think it's more like a white guy Swisher Sweet, if I'm being honest. Like they were classy, they were like, they were the flavors you'd get at a gas station.
Yeah.
But I think they probably actually used oranges in the ones I was
So you're
buying.
smoking wood tip wines.
What's the most serious crime that you could get away with because of method acting as a defense?
Shooting someone during a
What
in
the
the middle of a movie, killing
tell.
someone in a movie.
All right, let's just talk about that. So we didn't talk about last week. Alec Baldwin, they charged him with involuntary manslaughter, I believe. And like, in case you don't know, guy was making a movie. He's doing a rehearsal for a scene where he points a gun at somebody. He did so. Whether he needed to pull the trigger or not, he did. Real bullet in it. Killed her dead. She is dead. And somehow they found him to be somewhat culpable. They believe he is, of involuntary manslaughter. And it just seems absurd to me. It seems so absurd. Like everything I've ever worked on, like, my God, it's so under. There's no bullets. Dude, there's no real bullets near the fake guns. And if there's going to be fake guns, they're treated like real guns. Like, but he's the actor. It's his job to hold that gun and use it like a prop. If it's handed to him, he's not supposed to. There are bullets in it, by the way, all the time. There were supposed to be bullets in it. Fake bullets. He has no way, unless maybe I could tell the difference if there's dimpled primers on a fake one, which is my guess. He would need to open the fucking chamber. I don't know if it's one that has a peaky kind of lever thing, so you see the backs of the shells and load them one at a time, or if it's got the thing where it like cantilevers out, the cylinder does. He would need to like look at the primers of bullets and be like, oh, something's amiss here. No, that is so absurd that he's, and I don't like that guy.
Ridiculous.
But
and he's like on set doing this every day, right? If every day I rent an airsoft gun from you and go play, right? And then on the 9th day, you swap out my airsoft gun with a real gun and they're otherwise identical. Like, I can't tell. I don't know.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing if you ask me, as the scenario you just described, where like I was here to rent a toy. They gave me a gun. Like, how am I culpable for using my toy in a setting where it was meant to be used and someone lied and made it a gun? Like, it's I hope he's okay. I hope he doesn't get charged with that. It's a weird precedent to set. That if
it doesn't seem like he deserves to be charged for it. Like, I don't think he's very funny, but I don't think he murdered that woman.
Yeah.
Like, or manslaughtered her. Like,
I think he's a really good actor. I don't think I've really enjoyed anything he's done for like a couple decades, but I remember like that what is it? Hunt for the Red October, I think, where he's like he's the Jack Ryan character. Like he's the guy going aboard the nuclear submarine with his fucking hairy chest out. I remember all those movies he was in back then. The one where he comes in with the 2 balls and he talks to the salesman about like coffee is for closers.
Oh yeah, he killed that scene.
Glenn
for Greenwald or something.
For like a decade, Alec Baldwin was one of the like best looking, sexiest, most talented actors on the planet. And you know, I didn't really enjoy like when he was shitting on Trump. You know why? Because he was good at it. He's good at shitting on Trump. His Trump impression is excellent. He does the lip thing.
Yeah, he hit the voice pretty well. So credit's due. Yeah, he did. He does have a good Trump.
Yeah. So I feel bad.
We shouldn't have done this, but when we were on the movie set, we were working with blank guns while we were there. And there was a lot of the crew there who was from New York, never been around firearms before. And a lot of them were really skittish, you know, like, oh, okay, well, just the armorer touches them and maybe a couple producers. We don't want, so they were nervous. And as soon as that started happening, we just started airdropping each other pictures of Alec Baldwin with no context.
Oh yeah.
So I'd be up there standing. We had like an M249 that we were doing a scene with, and I'm standing there with the armor talking over like how to do the shot. And I get a buzz and just look down and it's a picture of Alec Baldwin. And I just have to keep talking like nothing.
Yeah, you gotta be careful. Yeah, that's wild. I've never worked with like toy guns. It was always deadly stuff. So we always got the same like manner.
Your videos would have sucked with toy guns.
Yeah. We did some paintball videos. Those were fun. I watched one of my paintball videos the other day.
Today we are going to turn this fridge lime green from 46 feet away. Wow, isn't this great content?
But there was a bunch of times when I would be the guy there that was responsible for a bunch of guns and a bunch of bullets, and there would be at least 3 or 4 people there that are here to shoot them and have never shot a gun before. And like, I've never done anything like that before. I don't have any range safety training. I'd never really been to many ranges before that had rules. I've been shooting in a field my whole life.
Yeah.
So that was fun to kind of learn on the fly to try to keep everybody safe and try to get that shit like filmed and everything. I'm glad this sparked my memory. Sierra Mist. You guys familiar with this soda, right?
Of course.
Yes.
You've been in restaurants, you're like, hey, give me a Sprite. Like, we have Sierra Mist. Is that okay? Of course.
Of course.
Always was. It always was. Never cared. Extant. It's gone. They replaced it.
There's no, what's it called now?
Something fucking stupid. It's like Sparkle or something. Starry, that's what it is. Starry. I kept seeing commercials for Starry, and I was like, "What's this bootleg off-brand nonsense?" Starry. It looked like a billionaire had been like, "I'm gonna take on Big Cola," and like made some ugly ass like yellow can. The commercial was shit. It was just a can spinning, and it said Starry. Like
what?
I didn't even know what the fuck it was. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's not that. I mean, Sierra Mist was never like
shit.
that incredible.
Look at that branding.
Like Sprite was better slightly.
It doesn't look modern, or maybe it does. I don't know.
It looks like it's a cartoon soda. It looks like this is what they drink in a Rick and Morty episode. Like this is Bart's favorite fucking soda.
This would be like
it has me curious. I want to
Slurm. It looks like Slurm.
Like Futurama. Yeah. Slurms McKenzie's gonna come in from the corner and start dancing and partying.
Dude, I'm not taking a sip of that shit. That's Slurm.
I saw this in a grocery store the other day, and it made me physically upset.
Yeah.
Just like, are you serious? Because I like Sierra Mist, but now it's just gone. It doesn't exist anymore, so that's cool.
Yeah, they don't have. You know what else doesn't exist? Surge. Is Surge around anywhere?
Remember Orbits?
I didn't have it.
Barely.
Do you know what Orbits was? Orbits was this fruity beverage that had those little tapioca balls floating in it. They were like, oh,
that sounds
nobody
amazing.
was. Nobody was. For somehow they were suspended equally throughout the solution of beverage.
Super amazing.
Show me a picture of Orbits, Zach. This is gonna blow everybody's mind. I bought a bottle of this when I was like
Born too late.
I was like 8 or 9 or something like that. And I remember we stopped at the gas station near Gunlock, and I got a bottle of this shit and immediately regretted it.
Damn it! I could have had a Sierra Mist.
I could have had a Dr. Pepper or something. Like it was one of those things where it's like, all right, kids, grab a soda. And like I picked that one. Dad was like, that thing's $3.50. You sure you want it? And I was like, yeah. And this is what I got. I got the white one, the one on the left.
That looks awful, man.
That looks
Yeah.
terrific. It
Yeah,
looks
you had to chew.
syrupy and
What does it
sugary
taste
with
like?
suspended.
It was
jelly bean.
fruity, I think. I think it was like pineapple and coconut, maybe. Like that's my memory. Is it was something tropical.
That does look
kind of.
fun. That does look. I would enjoy an Orbits.
I this was during the time of Zima as well, because I remember vividly that like Zima was being advertised in that gas station for whatever reason.
You can buy them on eBay right now. I wonder.
Unopened.
Yeah, they look unopened to me.
I only took a sip.
$20 for the drink and $17 for shipping. Whoa, this one's from 1997, unopened.
That would have been like the year probably.
Gross.
I remember when I went to Maine, they had blueberry soda, and apparently it's like a kind of rare thing that's only done up there. They make it the same way they do root beer. That's one of the most amazing drinks I've ever had. I bought like 48 of them to just crack them open for celebrations. They were
I
so
mean, you know
good.
that rare drink is
smart.
amazing, but I'll like the black cherry cola from I think it's IBC.
Oh,
sure,
it's so sweet.
it is
Oh,
as
yeah.
good as anything ever made.
Yeah,
IBC. I've got some IBC cream in my fridge.
It's
Like every
so
2 years, I
tasty.
buy a 4-pack. It's 180 calories of soda, and I had one last night, and it was like this was worth it. this is so good.
Like you take small sips because
Mhm.
it's like it's like almost too rich of a beverage to guzzle like you would
Yeah.
some other swill.
And that's a good point because like
Some
I
other
had,
swill
after I
loser.
finished the one IBC cream soda, I wasn't like, oh, I wish I could drink like 3 more. It was like, no, I'm solid on sodas. Like I'm bouncing back to diet sodas. You know, I'm not
I
gonna
have some water after that.
And it
Have
comes
some
out of a
water.
quality glass bottle, which adds to the experience.
It does.
Glass bottles are just so
Got
much
that writing sort of engraved into the bottle, or
It's haptic. I don't know what it's not just
it's not engraved.
the opposite of
it's,
engraved. It's raised and it's incredible.
Yeah,
It's
raised.
molded
Yeah, yeah.
into it or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the old timey feel. I tell you though, like Virgil's makes
pretty
a
good.
tremendous. Here's what I like about them. It's just as much about the presentation as the root beer. To me, it's the best root beer I've ever had. They come in like that 1 liter cantilever bottle, but I remember it said something about the Bavarian nutmeg
Yeah.
that was an ingredient like on the bottle, and I was like, "Fucking sold!" But when you open it, it's like it's this
Bless you.
old timey thing. It's
I tried to mute it.
you're like a pirate that you just found some old bottle like, and when you like flick that cantilever top, it boop. You're like, holy shit, we just opened something up. And it's such a
Like
big bottle. You
Dom
have to pour it.
Perignon.
It's such it feels fancy. That's my favorite root beer. But Woody's right. That like black cherry IBC shit that's at the grocery store is just so sugary sweet. We got Old Soaker.
Old Soaker blueberry
Old Soaker
soda?
blueberry soda. Yeah, I found it.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Holy
forgot I had a
shit.
bottle up there. This stuff's incredible, and it's only made in Maine apparently at Bar Harbor. It's so good. I
I've
have
never
to
had
go
a
back.
blueberry soda.
It's
I would
neither
totally-
did I until I went to Bar Harbor. It was great. It was a magical little land I visited for a short amount of time where the blueberries make soda.
There's like artisan sodas, especially cream soda and root beer specifically. You
Mhm.
know, I personally hold those in a higher esteem than sort of the meme sodas that you see where it's like Mike's Hard Lemonade Soda. And it's like, fuck you. Fuck you. I'm taking up space where there could be cream soda. You know, idiot. But like, I love it. There's this like this grocery store that it's called Straub's here. And it is like the richest rich person grocery store. I haven't been in one in years, but it's like expensive as fuck, very artisan. And I remember like they had a whole aisle that like was nothing but individual artisan sodas. Like it was a small little place, but it was an entire aisle of it. And it was brands you could like, you could go to 50 other stores and never find them. And like little like like Leninade, like little jokey ones like that, like Vladimir Lenin on there with like a Leninade, soda, like those kind of things. But like they had the haha bullshit ones where it's like, you're not going to get me with that. I know that's a meme. That soda's not going to be good. But then they had like all the real ones and like the IBC and Virgil's adjacent ones.
You're not tempted,
and it was great.
Sodas? I am. I all right. Obviously,
I want to try Leninade.
Outstanding, but I could, in theory, get that anytime I wanted. I see like sour cabbage soda. All right, that sounds horrible, but this is my only opportunity to try sour cabbage. I'll never see it again.
Someone's gotta like it. Someone
I know
out there
what you
has
mean.
to be into this. Yeah.
I remember like at Disney World when I was maybe 11, for some reason they had like, maybe it was Epcot, they had like a jerky stand, like Jerky World. And in my head, it was like, I've had beef jerky and deer jerky. That's what jerky is. And they had alligator jerky, ostrich jerky. And like, I was like, as a, 10-year-old, like I was like really excited at the prospect of like getting to eat these different kinds of animals. And so I got some alligator jerky. And like, so immediately I was like, oh, I've been had. Like it tastes exactly the same. It's just tough meat with doused in seasoning. It wasn't different enough for me to like get excited
real
about
alligator.
It was real alligator. And like the part of it that like excited me was like, I'm eating something cool. Like I'm eating something that's hardcore and that like eats other things.
Yeah, I'm top of the food chain now.
I'm top of the food. Well,
the
literally,
8-year-old eating an alligator.
And it was probably like a baby farmed
that,
alligator. Ooh,
cherry cola?
Who's that? Fentimans?
This is Fentimans.
Fentiman's cherry
Make
cola.
it
Is that like an elixir from an age gone by? What is that?
Looks like a cured jaundice or something.
My name is Jeremiah Pendleton. You must try my elixir. You might buy it. It'll take a week to work, and by that time, I'll be 100 miles from here.
I bought it purely because of the dog logo.
Have you tried one yet, or did you buy a one-off?
Yeah, they're pretty awful. There's only the first fucking sign that this is gonna be shit. It's got 90 goddamn calories in it.
Is it a plastic bottle too?
No, it's glass, but
okay.
with a twist off, right? It's like
That's what made me think it was
like,
plastic.
this has got to be a lot cheaper than the.
That's
I don't
fine,
know.
as
Maybe
long as
this
it's
is more
glass.
expensive. I would think this is a more expensive process than the traditional crimping thing.
Okay.
Silly sodas aside, what is the airline that you always prefer, and what is the airline that you will never fuck with again?
I don't think I'll fuck with United anymore. I've had it. I just have a bad luck with getting like delayed with them. And I've had great luck with Delta, and like I haven't flown like since the Southwest thing, but honestly, Delta and Southwest, I've never had an issue with either of them.
So I will always go Delta. The only thing that would keep me out of a Delta plane would be if it's like one of those little short hops that you got to do sometimes. It's oh my god, it's a 25-minute flight. Like we can't those. Or if it's international, they just don't go. But it seems like Delta does everything. The only time I've had to stray was I took Virgin once from Seattle to LA because Delta doesn't do that trip, and Virgin does. And Virgin's probably the best airline if I'm being honest, but they're like one of those things where you're paying like 30% more and getting like, I don't know, 10% better service than Delta. I love Delta. I'll always go Delta. I will never fuck with United ever.
Really?
They're so shitty. Like some of the things they've done. Remember, they're the ones who drug that older Asian ER doctor off, beat him bloody, and drug him off the plane, and because he didn't want to surrender the seat that he was occupying, that he had paid for. And the reason they wanted his seat, we're trying to send some United employees to Kentucky. Why did you want to go to Kentucky, sir? And he's like, my patients. And they beat him bloody and drug him off the plane. He got paid. And then there's the famous story of that guy whose guitars, he's watching his guitars being damaged as they're loaded on the plane. He's like, hey, my guitars, no. And they're like, fuck it. He gets there. Sure enough, they were his guitars. Very valuable guitars, ruined. After exhausting every other avenue, what does he do? Makes a YouTube video called United Breaks Guitars.
Yes.
United Breaks Guitars. It's excellent. It's like he spent some money to make this, and it I think it's around 20 million views these days, probably.
They should have paid for his guitar.
They eventually did. And but little things like that alone, when I see that, I'm like, I'm with you.
Good
bro.
for that
Like,
guy.
Like they broke your guitars. Like fuck them. Delta's so cool. Delta lost one of Kitty's bags one time. This is when we lived 2.5 hours from the Atlanta airport. They're like, we don't have your bag, and so we go home. The next day, they're like, we have your bag. It's made it here from Chicago. We're gonna drive it to you. It'll be there in 2.5 hours. And they sent some asshole out in a little car with her bag, and he knocks on the door. I says, I'm very sorry. Here's some fucking vouchers for whatever the fuck, and here's your bag. And I was blown away by that level of like.
I know a little bit about
service.
that. I had a coworker back when I was a young programmer, and this guy was my senior programmer I worked with, who previously loaded and unloaded bags onto airplanes as his job. And what happened was, the end of the day, there were like a bunch of lost bags, and they would get paid like, hey, this one's not far from your house, a little 15-minute journey outside of your way. Drop this bag off at the dude's house, and we'll give you, it was like $30, $50 or something. But he's like, yeah, you do 3 of those, you end up working an extra 40 minutes, and you pick up, nearly half your pay over again. And that's how that system worked.
Yeah. So those Delta to me, like if anybody's, I don't know, if you're new to flying, like I guess every now and then somebody's like getting to the age where it's like, yeah, I'm going to start flying places. How do you pick your brand, right? I guess you'd have to do a bunch of market research. Just go Delta. Just go Delta. Especially in the Southeast, there's no reason to go anywhere else.
You're probably right. I think Delta has a hub in Atlanta. So they seem better to you than they might seem if you live in Raleigh.
Yeah.
I just choose by price and the time.
Have you ever done front?
I'm sorry.
I was going to ask if you'd ever done Spirit's business model.
When I was young, I've done Spirit. I've done Spirit in Southwest, but mostly I fly first class, and I just pick it on price and the time of day, and that's it.
People give Spirit a hard time because they feel like they're getting hit with hidden fees, and they don't understand the business model. There aren't any hidden fees. What they sell you, what they do is they make every little bit of air travel itemized so that you can pick the specific ones that you want to get. And if your only concern is price, they'll allow you to just buy, pay attention to the words here, a seat on the plane. Not the seat on the plane, a seat. If you want to pick your seat, that's extra. Want to print out your boarding pass? That's extra too. Want to bring a bag of any kind? That's extra. Both kinds, like carry-ons cost money.
Carry-on costs extra?
Yes, everything. And their CEO had this quote. He's like, "Why wouldn't I pack as many seats as possible onto a DC-10 or whatever they fly?" It's not I can't remember the plane they fly. Those
AC-130. Let's go with it.
Yeah, they're those. Yeah. The AC-130s that Spirit.
We're
uses.
going to Nam, boys.
I saw a picture of the leg room. That leg room was abominable. Like it wouldn't work for a man. Like it looked like children should be in there, like school bus seats.
This sounds like bullshit rationalization, but I've always had issues with air sickness, and in first class, I don't have that problem really. Like it's just a better experience.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're not as cramped in.
Maybe that's it. Gone. Maybe it's the drinks and the waitress who's there for you all the time. Maybe whatever. It's just better.
I like that hot towel.
Yeah, I don't know if I always get a hot towel. I usually get hot nuts. Somehow that's
Delta won't do peanuts.
I don't know.
That's the other reason I fly them.
They might be cashews. That'll come back. But yeah, they serve you like warmed nuts, and I'm like, this is actually kind of a cool snack.
I will not fuck with United though. That sounds scary. Delta lost my shit one time, but they got it back to me. That's the other thing. Like when they have fucked up, which you just assume is eventually going to happen. It's crazy that there's a system that allows that many people in bags to get to the right place most of the time anyway. Mm-hmm. Anytime I see my bags come out of that carousel, I'm like, oh, it made it again. How did it happen?
Wow. When they lose my bags, they're so lost. When I was in Mexico, it's like, where are my bags now? Like, I don't know, New Brunswick. Why did they even go that way? That's not on the way from North Carolina to Mexico. Like, oh,
well, tell them to come back.
Yeah, but they got to me eventually. It was an issue, but whatever. It was an adventure trip. That's just different adventure than I expected.
That's the original potato chip flavor, Not salt, but salt and vinegar.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
So that
I
was
didn't either.
original.
I just kind of made it up.
You got me this time. You don't always- you
God
rarely
damn
do
it, dude.
Yeah.
Did he have you, Taylor, or was it just me?
No, he got me on that one.
Oh,
Like,
good.
Because of the preservatives.
yeah, maybe I
Had to
was
keep
like,
those
yeah, like,
potatoes
that's right.
fresh.
it did make
Probably was the
it did
rotten
make
tomato-
sense
or
to me.
potatoes they
It
made him
still
out of.
makes sense. It might be true.
Damn it, you
that
got me
does
on that
sound
one. I
like
was
a-
about to ask a follow up about
That sounds like an 1800 snack. It's like, well, we'll just dry it out, then dip it in vinegar and put some salt on it, and there
Right?
you go. You've got.
I probably guessed right. Like I
We've
bet
had a
exactly
long
right.
afternoon of being racist. Time for a snack.
We've had a
Probably
long
was.
afternoon.
Why aren't more things salt and vinegar flavored? Like I would like salt and vinegar flavored like baked potato. I guess I just need to put some vinegar on my
You could
baked
just salt
potato,
it
huh?
and
Put some
vinegar,
salt
yeah.
on it. Yeah.
You think that would do the trick?
Here's
What
the
kind of
trick.
vinegar would I use?
You can put salt and vinegar on anything.
I don't think-
It's not
where do you
illegal.
get
They
it?
can't stop you.
You can like get the
Kyle,
powder.
you're
You
gonna
mean?
love this. Is salt and vinegar is a real thing.
Yeah.
You get like you
can
get like
say-
so like it's like the Dorito nacho cheese powder. You get like salt and vinegar powder and put it on something.
I hear you with the
I'm sure.
vinegar.
I
But
don't
what
know
if
what
you
you
put
do.
pickle juice on more things?
There you go. That's just vinegar. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's better than vinegar. It's pickle juice.
It's pickly vinegar. Brine.
They make those. They make dill pickle potato chips.
They do. They're pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm thinking baked potatoes, sandwiches.
Yeah, I mean you can just buy a big jar of juice, like I'm sure you have in your
Pickle
refrigerator.
flavored
that I know
potato
your
sounds
wife
like a
like does
problem.
this to all of your sandwiches
Oh.
with.
Pickle
God knows
flavored
what's
potato
growing in that
chips are
jar.
tremendous.
You know what's happening?
Love
The
them.
chips, yeah. The chips, yeah.
I have the same thing for lunch. Like, must be 360 days a year. I have the same thing for lunch, and
It's that like grilled chicken little flatbread thing, huh?
yeah, it's this lavish recipe we got on YouTube for grilled chicken thing, and she's replaced the pickles with relish. And oh my god, what an upgrade! First of all, it's like basically bread and butter pickles, but also the little relish juice spreads all over the place. Everybody's a delight.
Do you
She's revolutionized the chicken lavish game.
What I like pickles as well, but if I'm having like a sandwich instead of like at a deli, instead of like pickles on the sandwich, I really enjoy the whole spear that I
Mm.
get on the side, and I can like punctuate the bites I want with the pickle. I like that very much.
That's
Are you
me
a
now.
solid a pickle stick guy?
used
I'm a
to-
big pickle stick guy.
I used to, it's a spear first of all, and
Yeah.
and
Well,
second of
I
all-
guess I'm not that big of a pickle stick
Get your
guy.
mouth right.
yeah, they're pickle stick. Pickle stick?
Yeah.
What the fuck planet?
They
are
call
you
them
That's what a
cucumber legs.
caveman- That's what a caveman would call a pickle if he was learning English very fast. And we were all scientists were like,
Fine,
"That's amazing.
Zach-
It's been a week." Can
Zach,
I
remove
have
the last
pickle
30
stick?
seconds.
Look, you can't know what a pickle spear is. Look at him. He's a fucking caveman.
yeah,
so he
pickle
just learned
spears are the way to
English,
go.
so
Taylor,
that's
hear me out. What if
acceptable.
instead of
Let's not
slicing
razz
the
'em.
pickle into spears, you just sort of licked the outside of the entire pickle? You could put it in your
you know,
mouth,
I,
that
suck on it like a
gets-
popsicle.
I'm a
that
texture
gets you-
guy. I need the crunch. I understand you're a vinegar guy, but
I think that would
everybody's
get you
vinegar
kicked
guys,
out of Panera. I'm pretty sure.
it would. If you make eye contact to the cashier and throat, but you're not good at it, and you're going,
You're getting asked
your
to
pickle
leave.
spear? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
you know what they'll say is they'll say, "Sir, we're going to call the police if you try this again." And I'll say, "You don't know who I am," and I'm wearing a clown wig and sunglasses because I do it every day. It's like, sir, you
can't
pay
keep
by
doing
card
this."
every day.
I don't do dill pickles anymore,
Taylor,
though.
we have your name.
We
It's
have
right
your
here. Okay.
We thought you'd be a
You
girl.
play these games.
Well, this is very confusing for me.
accents as you're talking.
Just change 'em up.
Yeah.
I have to go to the bathroom, and I just come out with like an extra ring on as a different guy.
I like those wickles.
What's a wickle?
A wickle? It's I don't know. It's a pickle they charge you $6 a jar for. I don't
that
know.
a
It's just,
brand?
they're like sweet and spicy pickles. Yeah,
That
wickle.
sounds like a slur.
It's a wickle.
It does.
Get,
sound like
yeah,
a
you
wickle.
wickles, get out! I got my windows
Yeah.
open. Get your wickle ass out of
I'm
here.
gonna Google it to see if this is a real thing. It's a real
Tie
thing.
your shoes.
That's all.
Tie
Yeah,
your shoestrings, you dirty wickles.
this is one of the oldest
That's the thing
pickle
that wickles
companies
do. They
out
walk
there.
around with their sneakers untied.
Dude,
I was like, he can't get me
started-
twice in 2 minutes.
Started in 1906 by Jeremiah Wickle. Wickle's Pickles is the pride of the South and your pantry. It's
Jeremiah
almost
Wickle,
100
that's
years
one
in the making.
That's one of
Goddamn
those
right.
names. That's like you were saying earlier, like Jebediah Barzal, whatever.
Yeah.
What was it?
Jeremiah
Wickle?
Wickle.
No
Yeah.
way.
You're right. I did make that up. There is not a Jeremiah Wickle from Wickle's Pickles. But the rest
You
of what
got
I read
me.
is
You
true.
got me. This podcast is full of lies and misinformation.
I'll say this. I'll say this. Look, if you want
Most
some,
of it's wrong.
if you want some
I
tasty
can't do
pickles,
this.
the Wickles are the way to go. And if you like mayonnaise, then Duke's mayonnaise is the way to go. I have very strong opinions about a lot of things, and those two things are just true. Anyone who eats anything else is just wrong.
Wait, what was that second part?
Duke's mayonnaise.
I don't eat white condiments.
First of all, I don't eat much mayonnaise.
I'm pretty
Ever.
progressive.
However, if I had my way, I could eat it by the spoonful. I fucking love mayonnaise. I could dip French fries in it and be happy. Like on my grilled cheese, I want
my
mayonnaise inside and out that motherfucker. I want it on the outside because it browns it up. I want the inside because that's how Mama makes them. They're fucking delicious. It's not though.
Aw.
She'd be mad if I described her sandwiches that way. That's why I do. Yeah, she put mayonnaise in them. She don't know how to cook.
What's your if you're getting a
She
burger,
did, though.
what's your burger toppings, Wendigoon?
Are we talking like cheeseburger?
Cheeseburger. Cheese goes without saying. There's cheese already on.
I don't like lettuce on burgers. It just kills the flavor for me.
Damn,
so I
strike
like,
one.
I like onions, pickles, and pretty much all the sauces. Like, throw the mayo, mustard, ketchup, all that. I'm here for it. Like there's specialty burgers, of course. Like, if you're throwing bacon on it, it's a whole different vibe. But like for a normal cheeseburger, absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
Lather it up.
that's solid. No lettuce though. You don't.
I
like
don't.
a
Every
little crispy crunch
time I
addition?
put, well, that's what the pickles and onions do. I feel like every time I eat a burger with lettuce on it, it's like, well, that flavor was good for a second, but now there's like celery in the way.
Yeah, well, you need good toppings. Like the difference
High
between a really good tomato and a shitty tomato is immense. Like if you get like a Burger King tier tomato, it may as well not be on there because there's no flavor, there's no crisp. It's just a wet wedge that doesn't add anything. But you go to
It's
a
that
nice
gooey
restaurant,
part.
you get a nice thick, crisp, like aroma, like a flavorful tomato. You're like, this is
A
like, I
beef
forgot
stick
tomatoes
tomato.
could be this flavorful.
Oh, it's meaty almost.
You're so
Yeah.
right. Why do they breed tomatoes to be flavorless? And that's what
It's
all you get in the
bullshit.
winter. What is happening there? And don't they realize their mistake?
They're huge.
So-
It's a huge mistake. And you're right about the winter thing. Like you get a burger, you may as well say no tomato most places in winter because it's going to be a flavorless disc of water.
When I
No.
make my own, I put tomatoes on them, and I like go through a whole process where I carefully slice the tomatoes with an exceptionally sharp knife, so I don't like rupture the cell structure. And then I salt and pepper them, and I put them on paper towels to let them drain all their juices out. And I flip them
all.
and rotate them 2 or 3 times until they're.
No,
And
this sounds
then
like
I put them on the
Patrick
burger so
Bateman.
they don't get all so. I'm making the best burger I can make.
I just
That's how I
karate
cook.
chop the tomato and call it
Look.
good.
That sounds delicious.
So you get that, and then like as far as condiments, I never stray too far from some kind of mustard. It could be like brown and spicy, or it could be like yellow and cheap, or it could be like some sort of Dijon shit. But I'm mixing that with mayonnaise, and that's the sauce. That's what's going on there. If I have that really expensive lettuce that you can buy, that's like this little miniature head of lettuce, that's like you crack it open, it's like, oh, a little baby lettuce head just for me. You literally go
Didn't like that.
and you get these perfect little like leaves, and it's just like I'll do that. But any like sort of standard shredded lettuce,
Mhm.
fuck that. It's just garbage.
Oh yeah,
So-
shredded. You can fucking. I'd rather be
Yeah.
killed.
But
Okay,
But-
let's calm down.
Yeah. I like Big Mac sauce. So like I could, if I had that, I would put that on a burger, because like something about that white trash Thousand Island Big Mac sauce just gets my goat. Like that shit a lot. But otherwise, I don't put onions on burgers. I think raw onions are gross, and my breath and like tongue tastes like onion all day. I have to brush my teeth after I eat onion like that.
Are you
so
are you
gross.
putting too much on there? Maybe.
a bite of onion is too much. A
Oh,
bite.
I like that raw. I mean, I like cooked onions on my burger too, but I like the sharpness of it.
I do raw onions on hot dogs.
I do raw
What do you-
onions on. I'll eat any kind of raw onion anywhere.
Yeah. You ever taken a bite out of an onion like a?
No, I haven't. But my brother used to.
That
my
would be
younger
a
brother
fun
did that when we
punishment
were
for a
kids.
pet.
No, he would do that. He would do it. He liked it. He loved onions so much that he would go into the fridge and take a bite of an onion like an apple. This is the same brother that would take bites of butter out of the fridge sometimes.
Holy shit!
Now green onions.
And he's
can
never
do
had a
that
weight
with.
problem. It fucking pisses me off.
Well, not when you're eating onions. You're filling up on whole onions. You eat a bushel
Case
of onions.
closed. We gotta figure it out.
I'm so hungry right now.
Wait,
I know. That's why I brought up the
Missouri.
cheeseburger conversation because I'm thinking about it.
Eats nothing but onions. Just ran
Taylor, are you
through.
still on a cut?
I am. I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm doing pretty solid with eating well and keeping the late night binge eating to a minimum. Because that's where I realized I fucked myself up so many times is like I'll go on a good streak and it'll be like I haven't like had a big eating feast late at night for like 2 weeks, and then you do it and you like do the math the next day and it's like, oh no, like that was thousands of calories that
You know what I'm gonna do
didn't
this
need.
week?
I undid so much time.
I still have the turkey. I bought 2 turkeys at Thanksgiving. I'm gonna cook the other one this week.
Fried.
Fried is so many calories. Like I was thinking about baking it. I've never baked turkey, and so there's no like for sure. And I've had a couple of bad outings recently with my cooking. It's like, well, that was ruined.
What hasn't
Like-
gone well?
I cooked some steaks the other day, and I wasn't there when they got vacuum sealed. And somebody used my old vacuum sealer not my new fancy expensive one. And so if you don't vacuum seal the steaks just right when you sous vide them, they sort of like simmer in like watery juices and they get gross. So that
Or a
happened.
boiled egg with a cracked shell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I usually get filet mignon. So it's like, damn it, I just messed up like $40 worth of steaks. That's lame. And then like now I got to
Dogs
get
are
like
happy.
His name was brought up. How is Wings doing? I haven't heard anything in a while. Is
good.
he okay? Okay. All right.
Yeah,
He's
I
doing
never
better
know
than
until
ever.
Kyle tells me.
No, what you want to do, you just search his name on YouTube, and the top 3 videos will let you know his current situation.
Mm.
And I think it's mostly fighting off, well, just basic stuff. It's the child porn charges,
Right, yeah.
So he's dealing, and then also, his account's being taken from him by mean people on the internet.
He was afraid of an investigation, right? Because people were saying about the CP thing.
Well, yeah, I guess he had like jokingly said that he had some at one point, and so they're like, well, we'll just tell your local sheriff that you've got it, and they'll come get it. And he's like, well, don't do that.
Poor guy.
He's just trying to do his thing over there. All jokes aside, I have no idea what's going on over there. I try not to keep up.
Yeah.
The last time I was really interested was when like he had like crazy drama with his wife, and I thought that the Newlywed Game on here would be the best, would be a top 5 PK all time segment.
I heard you say that, and as someone who watches the show, I also think that would be a fantastic idea. I think that would be hilarious.
Like you sequester them, one leaves the room, and he comes back and like Wings. When you get a sponsor, maybe, or I'll come out of my goddamn pocket for $100, because they're not gonna get any of them right.
Whoa! Pick these up, everybody. I'm pocket for $100.
We start out at 100. We build.
Hey,
We
build.
you know what? Just to see Wings on here, I'll match that.
You act like
200.
Wings. Dude, you act like Wings
Yeah.
runs one of those
I
streams
won't.
where they're like dropping 100 level 3
Whoa.
subs on
Yeah,
it.
I don't mean to flex, but I'll match that 1 to 5. For every 100 Kyle puts in, I'll match 20.
Dude, I'll match that 1 to 5 with
All right,
with
Wings,
impressions.
you heard it here. Let Wings know.
$220 right now.
And
No,
joke.
Rick, 400. You all matched my 100
Wings,
per
that's
question.
cash money, man. That's cash money. That's $220. What can you do with
Per
that in
question.
2023?
Per question they get right. Per question they get right.
Honestly,
Okay, if that's per question, that's a lot.
This will add up to 20.
I know,
for me.
which made the whole bit upsetting.
Look, I'll say this. I'll say this right now. Hold on. I'll say this right now. Hand on the Bible. Hand on the Bible right now.
All right.
If Wings comes on PKA for a Newlywed, whatever, I will put up money for a game show.
right.
Oh wow!
I
What
will.
a statement
For him. No, because it would.
How
you
much?
said the Newlywed
How much
Game.
money?
How much
Like-
do you think it would take?
100 a question?
I'll
all right, so he doesn't do. He doesn't work like that. You could tell him, you could offer him $10,000 or a job that paid $100 an hour, and he'd take the cash. Okay, like all right. So tell him $100 a question. He'll never bite on that. You have to offer him a flat fee. You have to. It has to be an either or. You have to be an either or. You have to say to him, look,
man, $100 an hour, but 10,000, like all at once.
Do you think he would do it for 1,000
to clear that? Like,
do you think he'd do it for 1,000?
I would like to think that they would come on if we said, look, the lowest you can make is 1,000, and if you get enough questions to be above 1,000, that'll cap out at like 1,500. But you guys have to play the newlywed game, and I'm not going to explain the goddamn newlywed game. Basically, it tests how well a couple know each other with fun questions that I'd write.
Yeah,
I will.
Yeah, it would like the kind of questions they do on the show are like
exactly. We wouldn't do anything unfair.
Favorite music, and so you would just have to like trust that like Kyle and I would write fair questions.
Right.
Yeah.
We all write questions and then select.
We ask Wings
privately.
How does so and so let you know when she's in the mood? Yes. Like that would be the kind of questions that you would ask.
You know what? I would add as like a funny one. I'd be like, how would your wife solve this geometric equation? And then it's like, well, fuck. Like, I don't know.
Pi over
you missed that one. Sorry.
He's like,
who would your wife say was the president or the king of France in the year 800?
How would your wife spell nostalgia?
We just make it so difficult.
I also realize now that I said all that out loud that possibly should have said that live, because people may use that as something to harass Wings with in hindsight. I do not mean it in that way. If he wishes to, I would be happy to put up the money as someone who watches the show to see him come on for that.
Absolutely. I'm sure we could raise up a ton of money for a little.
Wings is a good person. Don't harass him.
For a little pay-per-view show that I'll be putting on called Married Life with Wings. So you guys think of yourself as investors at this point.
No, you know what?
I like, and an FPS production.
We need like
this is what I'm always saying about that would be easy. But
how about like Birds of a Feather?
Whale Wars.
And it's both of them like leaning back against each other.
Taken, dang.
Horror Wars?
Evil.
What?
Whale Wars.
Whale Wars. That's a good one.
Kyle is being evil right now.
I would love to have this.
My 600-pound lives.
Joe.
But I'm also not saying I have to be a part of it. I'm not saying like I expect to be on or anything. I will just be silent and put up the cash. I need to see
people are always
make it happen.
Make it happen. Yeah. I'll be the executive producer.
Okay.
I think people were shocked at first, like how interested people would be in YouTube boxing, but I think everybody's sleeping on just how interesting it would be to see a 22-minute episode of the Newlywed Game with those two playing for sponsors' money.
We need music. We need the music, the lead in, the production for like just the music's the big part that adds to it.
Yeah, I mean,
Bet we can't have it.
Music's free,
Yeah, music's free. It's in the air. You don't have to own music.
It goes in it literally goes in your ear and out the other. It's a
how can a man own a sound?
More than you can own the sky.
What are you saying, that I've been sued? That is merely the white man's money. Let go of me, please.
Let go of me.
That was copyright infringement engine.
And that's the show.
Check out Wendigoon. We'll have links in the description. PKA 633.